Welcome to the Town of Aurora's virtual open house for the Community Energy Plan, or CEP. This is a self-guided experience. Stakeholders and members of the public are invited to weigh in on key elements of the draft plan before it is finalized. We invite you to review this presentation and submit your feedback at www.engageaurora.ca. Today, towns and cities are experiencing the impacts of a changing climate. More severe storm events, flooding, and infrastructure damage are being seen locally. These have financial costs that impact our municipal budget as well as homeowners. Greenhouse gas emissions, like carbon dioxide, are the primary cause of climate change. Greenhouse gas emissions, or GHGs, trap heat in the atmosphere, warming the surface of the Earth. As we continue to produce GHGs, we are contributing to climate change. In the future, Aurora's population will grow to approximately 79,000 by 2041. The town needs to understand how to grow while reducing our environmental impact. Towns and cities have a key role in meeting national and provincial greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets. Municipalities have direct or indirect control over 60% of Canada's total emissions. In 2019, Town Council declared a climate emergency. This recognizes the impacts of climate change locally and globally. By declaring a climate emergency, the town deepened its commitment to reducing emissions. The Community Energy Plan provides us with a pathway towards our goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050. But reducing greenhouse gas emissions is just one of the reasons to develop a community energy plan. A community energy plan can help homeowners and businesses reduce their energy use. Energy costs are high for our community. The energy plan can help keep more energy dollars in our local community while creating new and exciting jobs that support a smart energy future. Aurora's CEP is a long-term plan. It aims to improve energy efficiency and reduce energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. This plan captures Aurora's energy use today and provides a strategic plan on how to move forward towards a sustainable energy system. Community energy planning provides multiple benefits to the local community. Benefits are wide-ranging, from environmental and climate benefits to economic and health benefits. The development of the Community Energy Plan began in 2019 and has followed a step-by-step process. The approach follows the Global Protocol for Community-Scale Greenhouse Gas Emission Inventories, or GPC, basic level of reporting, considered the international best-in-class approach for quantifying emissions at the local level. The first step was creating an energy and emissions baseline. Energy use in homes, businesses, industries, and travel in the town was reviewed to create a baseline for 2018. The baseline estimates the total amount of energy used and emissions produced within the community in a given year. This analysis allowed the project team to identify ways to reduce energy use. Next, a business as planned scenario was developed. This tells us what Aurora's energy use and GHG emissions will be like if we don't take any action at the local level. Then we began to set a GHG emissions reduction target. Through discussions with a stakeholder working group comprised of individuals from local utilities, businesses, residents, and town staff, an aspirational target was set to define a path towards 80% emissions reductions by 2050. This target aligns with federal and provincial goals. Using the aspirational target as a guide, a series of strategies were developed. The stakeholder working group helped to refine and tailor the strategies to best suit the Aurora context. They provided advice and guidance on all components of the plan. The public has also been engaged throughout the plan's development. In the summer of 2019, the public was invited to share what was important to them about energy and emissions at the Aurora Farmers Market. In the summer of 2020, An online survey was available through the town's engagement website, which invited residents to tell us their priorities for action on climate change and energy efficiency. This virtual open house is the third and final public engagement opportunity. The result of engagement and technical analysis is the final CEP document. The document is being reviewed by town staff, the Community Advisory Committee, and other key stakeholders. The plan will be presented to Town Council for adoption in early 2021. The majority of our community's energy use comes from natural gas, mostly from heating our homes and businesses. Electricity, natural gas, and gasoline together make up almost all fuel types used in Aurora. Electricity and gasoline represent the largest costs for consumers in Aurora. In 2018, the community used 6.7 million gigajoules of energy. That's enough energy to power 140,000 cars for 1 year. Associated energy costs were over $178 million. The baseline provides a snapshot of energy use and emissions in Aurora during the year 2018. This includes energy and emissions from homes, buildings, industry, vehicles, transit, waste, and town operations. Overall, in 2018, the community of Aurora produced approximately 326,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. This represents over 5 tons of CO2 generated per person, enough to power 1.2 homes for 1 year, or the same as using 2,100 liters of gas. Over half of our emissions are produced in homes and other buildings, such as offices, stores, and schools. Travel is also a large source of emissions, the majority of which comes from personal cars, trucks, and SUVs. The business as planned, or BAP scenario, is developed to understand future energy consumption, energy costs, and emissions for the town of Aurora, assuming no action is taken to reduce energy or emissions. Increased population and employment growth will mean more homes, more businesses, more cars on the road, and more waste, and therefore greater energy consumption and emissions. However, changes that occur outside the influence of the municipality, such as actions from higher levels of government and technology changes, will also influence the energy consumption and emissions of Aurora in the future. Energy and GHG emissions are anticipated to stay around the same level to 2050 for Aurora, despite the population growth expected. On one hand, this is good news. Even though our population is growing, technological advances and provincial and federal efforts are keeping our energy use and GHG emissions fairly even. On the other hand, this means we still have a lot of work to do to bring our emissions down to meet provincial targets of 30% by 2030 and move towards 80% reductions by 2050. Energy costs for the town of Aurora are expected to rise in the future, creating further motivation for action. The vision and goals of this plan have been created by the stakeholder working group and informed by the public. The vision for this plan is: Aurora is a leader in energy and emissions reduction, with a focus on improving quality of life in collaboration with residents, organizations, and businesses. A series of goals have been developed to guide the plan. The goals of the CEP are to educate and communicate with the public about the impact of energy choices, encourage local businesses and industries to use energy consciously and increase efficiency, support the local economy, increase access to clean and renewable energy in the community, encourage healthy and complete communities for residents to live, work, and play through land use planning, encourage homes and apartments to use energy consciously and increase efficiency, support a range of low-carbon transportation options that are accessible, including electric vehicles, public transit, walking, and cycling. Integrate nature-based solutions in land use to capture carbon. And support waste reduction efforts at the local and regional level. The plan includes a list of strategies to help reduce energy use and emissions in Aurora. Overall, the strategies aim to reduce the amount of energy used in new and existing homes, reduce the amount of energy used in new and existing buildings. This includes businesses, offices, apartments, town facilities, schools, and industry. Consider cleaner ways of powering our town through district energy systems and solar power. Encourage people to rely less on their gasoline-powered cars in favor of electric vehicles. Promote walking, cycling, rolling, and transit use in Aurora. Reduce the amount of waste generated in the town and pursue compact, mixed-use development. Homes are responsible for 45% of all energy use in the community and 37% of Aurora's total emissions. In 2018, the average Aurora resident consumed 49 gigajoules of energy. This means on average, households in Aurora are spending about $3,000 to heat and power their homes each year, which is slightly higher than other municipalities in York Region. Two strategies have been developed for homes. The first calls for the design and implementation of a tiered code or green standard that encourages higher energy efficiency. Developers would be encouraged to meet higher levels of energy efficiency when building new homes. The second strategy outlines a voluntary deep energy retrofit program. A deep energy retrofit looks at the entire home or building and aims for significant increases in energy efficiency. Saving energy means saving money to heat, cool, and power our homes. Businesses and institutions are responsible for 16% of all energy consumed in the community and 14% of emissions. Similar to homes, the CEP includes strategies for new and existing businesses and institutions. These include a tiered code or green standard for new buildings and a deep retrofit program for existing buildings. The CEP includes a strategy for increasing efficiency in multi-unit buildings. Such a program would include assessing a building's equipment and operating systems to increase efficiency. In Aurora, industrial buildings and facilities are responsible for 13% of total energy. This represents 3% of total emissions. Industries already have a vested interest in managing their energy consumption to the best of their abilities. The CEP reflects ongoing energy efficiency improvements in industrial buildings through the use of energy management systems. Most trips made by residents of Aurora are completed in a car. Of all trips in 2016, 72% were made as a driver and 15% as a passenger. The transportation sector is responsible for 26% of the total energy consumed in the community. This represents 37% of total emissions. Personal vehicle use is responsible for 99% of all transportation energy and emissions. The first strategy aims to reduce the impacts of travel through mode shift. This means encouraging other methods of travel, such as cycling, walking, or taking transit, instead of driving. This also includes working with local employers to promote flexible working arrangements such as flex hours and remote working. The second strategy aims to support the adoption of electric vehicles, or EVs, by developing a plan to increase EV charging infrastructure. Working with the region, the town of Aurora provides many programs and services to encourage waste reduction and diversion. Waste reduction involves producing less garbage that ultimately needs to be disposed of. Waste diversion involves the reuse, composting, or recycling of materials that would typically be sent to a landfill. The waste sector includes emissions from solid waste, composted waste, and wastewater that is generated within the town of Aurora. Waste emissions accounted for 9% of emissions in 2018. The strategy for waste calls for implementing programs to reduce waste generation by residents and businesses, and to increase the waste diversion from landfills. District energy systems, or DES, use pipes to supply heating, cooling, and/or power to multiple connected buildings from a local, decentralized energy source. Buildings that produce excess energy, or anchor tenants, can redistribute this energy to nearby buildings. The use of DES can lead to increased efficiencies and reliability. While the opportunity for district energy exists, particularly in industrial corridors or new developments, there is significant detailed planning involved in assessing district energy application for the town and high upfront costs. As a result, the CEP recommends conducting a feasibility study for implementing a low-carbon fuel district energy system. The CEP also includes a strategy to develop a plan to increase the adoption of solar energy, such as rooftop solar systems, solar thermal systems, and ground-mounted arrays. Ground-mounted solar panels are anchored to the ground rather than rooftop systems. They can be a single array or much larger to cover a field or parking lot. Solar thermal technology uses energy from the sun for domestic hot water heaters and can be used year-round in Canada. Solar energy is recommended above other forms of renewable energy as it is more suitable for the town's context. Though wind energy is as cost competitive as solar, wind generation is more suitable away from urban centers. Biomass energy requires either wood or wood byproducts as inputs, or landfill gas capture, which falls under York Region's operational control. Geothermal energy should be considered within the district energy project described previously. For the CEP, a solar adoption plan will allow the town to identify specific locations and applications on town properties, while also encouraging uptake amongst homes, businesses, and the industrial sector. Such a plan could also examine incentive programs and payback periods. These strategies are also supported by land use planning that reduces GHG emissions, as well as carbon sequestration activities of our natural habitats that have not been quantified. These activities are not currently included in the GPC basic level reporting as measurement continues to evolve. How we plan and develop our community has a long-term impact on the environment. The CEP recommends building compact, mixed-use communities where residents can live, work, and play, and this has several positive benefits. First, it reduces the need for trips by car and promotes active travel and transit. This reduces emissions and commuting distances. Mixed-use communities retain services and jobs within the town. Compact and infill development reduces the environmental impacts of urban sprawl, promoting the protection of green space. Finally, mixed-use communities help eliminate the need for personal vehicle ownership in favor of lower-cost travel options. This allows residents to access recreation, services, and employment with a reduced financial burden. Natural spaces and the urban tree canopy have an important role in sequestering or storing carbon and offsetting GHG emissions locally. The plan recommends continued efforts to protect tree canopy and green spaces and to work with partner agencies to quantify the impacts of sequestration on the overall carbon budget for the town. Carbon offsetting, emission reductions, are sold to the purchaser in the form of an offset. Offsets, measured in tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, effectively reduce the purchaser's net emissions. Purchasing carbon offsets should be a final option to reduce net emissions. This should only be done once all other strategies have been implemented to their fullest potential. Together, implementing these strategies will lead to a 27% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and a 62% reduction by 2050. A significant transformational effort will be required to meet these targets by the town, agencies, homeowners, and businesses. While the CEP strategies are significant, there still remains a gap in achieving an 80% emissions reduction by 2050. An additional effort by federal and provincial governments, as well as advances in technologies, will be needed to meet the targets set out by the federal government, the Paris Agreement, and the town's emergency declaration. We have intentionally set a 30-year planning horizon, and we will continue to evaluate our progress over time and identify ways to close this gap. The plan will be reviewed by the Community Advisory Council before being presented to Town Council in early 2021. We invite you to provide your feedback on the plan through www.engageaurora.ca/CEP. We want to know, what do you think of the strategies? Is there anything we've missed? Do you have any suggestions to support implementation? Please contact Natalie Keeley at nkehle@aurora.ca to provide feedback in another form. The survey will close on Monday, October 19th, 2020. Thank you for your interest in this important initiative.